Hi, my name is Kishore and this is Moving Images. Let's do a little test. Tell me if these two scenes go together. If you found these jarring, then you can thank the verisimilitude the director has created. Verisimilitude is the appearance of being real. In movies, it is the simulated reality a director builds in which the story takes place. Now both Pollathavan and Padikathavan are commercial movies, and they have the same elements such as action, comedy, drama and romance. But why does one feel grounded while the other feels over the top? Well, that is because director Vetrimaran gave us more than just a commercial film in Pollathavan. The film is about a normal guy named Prabhu fighting gangsters led by Ravi who is out for his blood. We realize the reason for all this is a bike, Prabhu's bike. Now a guy fighting gangsters with machetes just for a bike seems far-fetched. But Vetrimaran makes it look real and he does so by showing how much the bike means to Prabhu. Looking back at the film, the second act is only where the story actually happens. You can fast forward the entire first act and you still won't miss anything story-wise, but you would miss the motivations behind each action the protagonist Prabhu and the antagonist Ravi make. The first half is the setup the audience needs to connect to these characters. At the intermission point, Prabhu loses his beloved bike and Ravi tries to step out of his brother's shadow. The entire first half is a flashback and the flashback continues in the second half as well till the last 15 minutes of the film. But the first half is told through the perspectives of the protagonist and antagonist, while the second half is told through a third person's perspective. There is a reason to this. The first half is not just first person perspectives, but they are memories. The setup kind of reminded me of another film, Satya. Both movies start with the main lead in a dire condition and goes into a flashback. Through some editing cues, Satya too implies that the flashback is from the protagonist's memory. You see a striker striking a carom board and then hear a train before you see Satya sitting with his friends playing carom beside a railway track. The scene is meant to visualize Satya piecing together bits of memories from his past at the operation table until he remembers how he ended up at the hospital with bullets in his body. The human mind has a strange way of recounting memories. We tend to skip forward in time and space within our memory, with the thought being the only link. This is shown visually with a J cut or L cut, where the audio proceeds before a scene or lingers in the next scene, respectively. Here, Satya is faced with disappointment at not being able to get a job, and he remembers his father asking him to find a job soon. We hear it, and the scene cuts to them having the conversation.
சத்தியமூர்த்தி ஏதாவது வேலையை தேடிக்கிட்டு குடும்ப கஷ்டத்தை கொஞ்சம் குறையப்பா.
நானும் ட்ரை பண்ணிட்டு தான் இருக்கேன். கிடைக்க மாட்டேங்குது. நான் என்னப்பா பண்ணுவேன்?
The editing shows how a human mind works and how memories are remembered. The same technique is used in Pollathavan too, as Prabhu recounts how his bike saved his respect and also his life.
வேலை வாங்கி கொடுத்து எங்க அப்பங்கிட்ட என் மானத்தை காப்பாத்தின என் பைக்கு ஒரு தடவை என் உயிரையே காப்பாத்துச்சு.
However, there is a caveat to using this technique. The audience will only be able to see what the protagonist remembers, and this might limit the storytelling sometimes. Don't get me wrong, there have been movies that have entirely depended on this technique like Memento, but it is not an easy technique to follow through. And Satya suffers from it by switching back and forth between the first person and third person perspectives to take the story forward. Pollathavan, on the other hand, finds a nifty way to overcome this drawback. Director Vetrimaran chooses to use two perspectives instead of one to keep the story engaging and show us the other side as well, and once he has established the motivations of the main characters, he chooses to go for a third-person perspective. The verisimilitude he maintains doesn't just stop there. I've always had this problem with scenes showing us a character recounting a story through flashbacks, and how very minor details, which is hard for anyone to remember in real life, is not only remembered but also play a major role in the story. Recently, I came across this in Vikram Veda. It is hard to believe Veda had time to tell Vikram every little detail, such as a character being a lefty in the limited time he had to tell his story, or even recount events in such detail when he was not even present when it happened.
ஒரு கதை சொல்லிட்டா சார்.
Pollathavan brilliantly doesn't do this error. Each and every scene in the flashback will have the character in the scene they are recounting. The one scene where the character is not present is the conversation between the gangster Selvam and his wife, which Ravi remembers. But this is also shown later as the scene progresses that Ravi was eavesdropping on his brother, and that is how he knows it happened. And further, you might have noticed that Prabhu's flashback is more detailed and vivid than Ravi's. One might think since Prabhu is the hero in this story, he gets more screen time, and you might be right. But the verisimilitude holds there too. Prabhu's story is more detailed because Prabhu likes to tell stories. We can see here that Prabhu's favorite pastime is telling stories about his pursuit of a girl to his friends in such detail.
Girls touching hand problem. The same Harry Potter also deal the same problem. This chapter. Bad boy. Torture பண்றா.
ஏய், தான் ஃபிகர் போயிடுச்சுல. போட்டு இங்கிலீஷ்ல பேசுறீங்க.
டேய் நான் ஃபிகர்க்கா பேசல மச்சி.
Now after all this, you might ask me, so Kishore, this is all fine, but why show the flashback as first-person perspective memories? Is it just a stylish gimmick? To which I say, verisimilitude again, random YouTube user. The story of Pollathavan is based on reality and in real life. There are no black or white characters. There are no altruistic heroes and there are no villains who are bad for the heck of it. People have principles and motivations. Satya too followed this idea. Sure, we saw Satya fighting against corruption and be a good Samaritan, but dig deeper and you can see each of those actions were motivated by selfish needs. Satya was frustrated being bullied by society and by his own stepmom, and he takes it out on the goons. Satya follows Dandapani only after he receives some personal help, and it was more of a repaying a debt. Even the final straw that broke his back was not when Dandapani betrays his trust, but when his friend dies due to Dandapani. In Pollathavan, the motivations are very personal for both characters. Prabhu wants his bike back, and Ravi wants to be acknowledged as an able gangster. But that doesn't answer why use memories. Well, here's the kicker. We know that Prabhu is motivated to find his bike because he believes his bike made his life better. It helped him secure a job, gain respect with his father, and even get the girl he likes. But this is how Prabhu remembers it. The truth might not be the same. Maybe Prabhu would have secured a job without his bike if he tried, and this holds good for all the other things too. Memories have a tendency to be skewed according to our perception. Prabhu's memories might not be how actually the events transpired, but rather how he perceived it. The same goes for Ravi. We see through his eyes that his brother Selvam is a gangster with principles, and side note, a brilliantly written character.
விரோதக்கார குடும்பத்தோட இருந்தானா புது ஃபேமிலி விட்டுணும் தனியா வராதையா போயிடுவான் வெயிட் பண்ணி வெயிட்டு அத்தோட எடுக்கிற வேலை இப்படி போட்டாதான் கற்றுக்குவானுங்க.
நான் இன்ஸ்பெக்டர் ஆள் விட்டு அனுப்பிக்கிறாருண்ணா.
என்னவா
ஒரு பொண்ணு மேலே ஆசிட் அடிச்சுக்கிறானுங்க.
யாரு?
ரவி தான்.
என்னடா?
Yet, when Selvam hears that Ravi has thrown acid on a girl who spited him, he doesn't reprimand him. Instead, he offers Ravi a smuggling job.
ஆர்பர்லின் கொடுங்க தனியாட்டு போடுவியா?
This goes against what transpired just before the scene where Selvam is telling his wife about his principles and later constantly reminding Ravi to not go against people who don't concern their work. So this is how Ravi remembers the events. He doesn't remember his brother's advice, but only the first job he was offered.
விரோதக்காரன் கையில மாட்டிச்சுன்னு வை உயிரை கையோட எத்திட்டு போடுவான். விரோதக்காரன் குடும்பத்துல இருக்கிறவங்க ஒன்றியும் பண்ணாதீங்க எத்தனை சொல்லிக்கிறேன்.
என்னப்பா
அவன் அச்சப்ப நான் வெளில போக முடியாத கஷ்டப்பட்டல இப்போ அவன் அப்பனை பார்த்து அவன் கஷ்டப்பட்டான்.
The detail and simulated reality Vetrimaran built for this film makes every character three-dimensional and makes us understand their every action through their own eyes. Pollathavan is a commercial film, but Vetrimaran shows us that a commercial film doesn't mean it shouldn't have any logic behind it. He gave us a selfish and flawed protagonist, not a hero whose only purpose in life is to save the helpless. He gave us an antagonist with a purpose, not a mustache-twirling villain who was just bad for the heck of it. He gave us interesting supporting characters. I wish more filmmakers would learn from Pollathavan. For me, Pollathavan is a film by a first-time director who reaped an often ignored but important crop from a little seed another first-time director sowed in Satya. Until next time, this is Kishore signing off saying,
அந்த பையனுக்கு பயம் இல்லை, அவரெல்லாம் அப்படியே போட்டுருணும்.